It's time to accelerate. Hi, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Join me as I host conversations with the leading experts in sales, marketing, sales automation, sales process, leadership, management, training, coaching, any resource that I believe to help you accelerate the growth of your sales, your business, and most importantly, you. Hey friends, this is Andy. Do you know Engagio? They're leading the revolution in account-based sales and account-based marketing. Engagio enables companies like yours to orchestrate human connections at scale and build hyper-growth sales engines. Let's meet Joe Chernoff.
I'm Joe Chernoff, the VP of Marketing for Insight Squared. Our very first purchase when we shifted models was Engagio. Engagio very quickly became the centerpiece of our account-based marketing strategy, both the technology as well as the content they provide.
Engagio's platform lets you engage the right account at the right time so you can close more deals faster. So if you're interested in joining leaders like Insight Squared in the account-based everything revolution, then be sure to visit engagio.com/accelerate and download your copy of their new book, The Clear and Complete Guide to Account-Based Sales Development, and then come back and listen to the rest of this exciting episode of Accelerate. Hello and welcome to Accelerate. I am really excited to talk with my guest today. Joining me here in this first week of January is Jill Rowley, digital transformation specialist, speaker, social selling evangelist, enterprise sales expert. Jill, welcome to Accelerate.
Thank you, Andy. I am excited to be here.
Yeah. So for people maybe that don't know you, take a minute, introduce yourself, and maybe also tell us how you got your start in sales.
Sure. I say I'm a sales professional trapped in a marketer's body.
I'm not. I'm just a sales guy.
Well, I'm trapped in a marketer's body because my buyer was marketing for a decade.
That's true with Eloqua.
That's right. And so part of my mantra is know thy buyer and be where your buyers are, be visible and valuable where your buyers are, be the best advocate of and for your buyers. And to do that, when your customer is marketing, you really need to know a lot about marketing. And so I kind of, almost like what's happening with sales and marketing more broadly, that the lines are blurring and the roles are blending. I too, as an individual, the lines between sales and marketing of Jill Rowley are blurring and blending. And so I got my start in sales officially. My first quota-carrying job was in 2000, and I had spent 6 years in consulting prior to wanting to get into sales, and I joined Salesforce.com. And that was when there were about 24 other salespeople at the company. It was early days at Salesforce.
Right. Wow. So
Yeah.
what was sort of the big takeaway for you from that time frame?
So I spent 2 years there, and I actually went from Salesforce to one of my customers. So I joined Eloqua, and I got to know my buyer, and that's what led me to Eloqua. I was working with them; they were a customer. I was intrigued with what they were doing, and the more they told me about the business, and I actually started to use the product. Mm-hmm. Which at that time was really trackable email.
Right.
And this is before email was ruined by every marketer and every sales professional on the planet. This is when, newsletters were just coming to be.
Right.
And so when I go over to the article reprint wall, we used to do a lot of, put a hat in a package, put a bunch of article reprints in a package and mail it to your prospect. I said, well, I could take these pieces of content and I could put them in email format, and then I could send it and I would know if someone opened it or clicked through the email, and I could send that to a whole lot more people than I could a physical piece of mail. So that was back in 2001-ish that I started to use Eloqua as an individual sales rep. And Benioff, actually, I showed it to him and he's like, get every salesperson using this. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. It really wasn't that long ago.
When
you look how things have changed so rapidly, that changed.
Yeah, they have. They've rapidly changed. So I don't know. I love it. I mean, so I spent 13 years as an individual quota carrying sales rep. I literally never had any desire to be a manager, to be a director, to be a senior director, to be a VP, to be an SVP, because to me that meant a lot of time in Excel and a lot of time managing other people, which I have a hard enough time managing myself, much less anyone else. And it meant I would get farther away from the customer. And I am all about the customer. So I wanted to be as close to the customer as I possibly could. And sales was where I was, most effective at that.
Excellent. So in your mind, here as we look at the start of 2017 going forward, in your mind, what is the single biggest challenge facing sales professionals today? I mean, this year, what do they need to address?
Well, I think the single biggest challenge facing salespeople is the same single biggest challenge facing buyers. And it is distraction. And it is, I say often the modern buyer, she's digitally driven. 92% of B2B buyers are starting their search on the web. Mm-hmm. She's socially connected. She's mobile with multiple devices. She's empowered. She has nearly unlimited access to information and people.
Right.
But she's also overwhelmed because of all of that. Not only does she have unlimited access to everything, pretty much everybody has unlimited access to her by, continuing to call, email her. And with, interruptive, generic messages. Mm-hmm. And so the seller too, we are easily distracted. And I think one of the challenges internally is you're bombarded with messages and with content and with tools and with process and how do you filter through all of that to make your number, which is ultimately how you're measured in sales.
Right.
And so I think, the best salespeople, they intimately know their customer. They know their buyer at a human level. So Andy Paul, they know their buyer at, a company level, 0-time selling. Mm-hmm. They know their customer, their buyer at an industry level. So what's happening in that customer's industry, the changes that they're facing, the ups and downs, the big priorities. And the more you know someone and their environment and their priorities and their challenges, the better you are positioned to help them.
So how do you fight that distraction though? I mean, I understand as a buyer, because one of your jobs as a salesperson, you're trying to be compelling enough to grab some of their time because they are so hugely distracted.
Yep.
But you raise a really interesting point that I really haven't heard many people talk about before, is that the salesperson's distracted as well. And so, and especially if they have any sort of call reluctance, that's a compounding effect. How do you deal with that distraction as a sales professional? How do you stay focused?
So bringing in a little bit of my marketing background, I think it's so important to really understand the ideal customer profile so that you are spending your time on the companies that you will generate the most value for. So, not wasting your time on bad fit accounts or even bad fit individuals. Meaning, if you are selling something that requires a lot of change and it requires internal education and it requires cross-functional collaboration for your customer to be successful, then it's really important that you are investing your time as a sales professional with the individuals within that organization that can drive change, that can facilitate that cross-functional collaboration, alignment, unification, and that really is someone who can be your champion and can sell effectively internally and earn trust and credibility. So I think that's, I think it's really important. Just it's a matter of focus.
Making
And
good
people-
choices, I think.
Totally.
I think that's how I would take what you said is making good choices. Because I deal with a lot of, sales companies, salespeople, and sort of the level below that is even at the habit level, is you have a choice about how you spend every minute of your day.
Yep.
And you have to make good choices. And as you talked about, one of the important choices is make sure you're calling on the customers that fit your ICP.
Well, and to making those good choices, my choice at the gym or when I'm on a run is to consume content via podcast or video. And so at the gym this morning, I'm doing a lot of work with GE, and GE is, just an incredible example of a traditional, 140-year-old company, $120 billion company that is a manufacturing company. They're an industrial manufacturer. They produce jet engines, oil turbines. They're in the transportation business, and they are becoming a digital business. They are the digital industrial.
I know. I've seen the TV commercials.
Aren't you in awe, Andy?
Yeah.
They're becoming a software company.
Yeah.
I live in the Valley, so I'm just in Silicon Valley, and Mark Andreessen, software is eating the world. It's absolutely true. I used to say, I don't see a dot I don't want to connect, but now I don't see a device or a machine I'm not thinking about how that's going to be connected to the internet.
Oh, yeah. Think about GE and, jet engines, for instance, right? Do you think about the Internet of Things and real time? And I think even Salesforce talked about this they profiled GE, I think, a couple years ago. Dreamforce is about this whole thing is, interconnectedness of everything that they make.
Yep. It's the internet of everything, and it's the internet of the customer. And so at the gym this morning, as I'm still working with them, and there's a really big project that we're discussing my participation in. And I'll tell you a story about social. So the other day I was traveling, I was speaking at an event, and I had sent a tweet about GE being recognized as the #1 corporate university. Mm-hmm. And I had tagged a couple people from GE so that they knew I was thinking about them. And the CIO of GE, Jim Fowler, he's the CIO of all of GE, he retweeted my tweet. So I knew he was on Twitter. So I DM'd him. I direct messaged him on Twitter and mentioned this new initiative that I was speaking with the team about, and said, why don't we get on the good old-fashioned telephone and have a conversation? And he DM'd me back immediately and basically said he was at an event, he'd be available at 5. Would that be a good time? I would move mountains to make sure that was a good
right time. Exactly.
Right?
No-brainer, right?
Perfect, right? As I then jig my whole schedule. And I said, what's your email address so I can send a meeting invite, because I want to be on his calendar.
Right.
I want his email address. So he sent me his email, his cell phone. 3 minutes before our scheduled call, I was doing a bit more research on him. So, of course, looking in digital and social, I came across an article in the Huffington Post that he had written about Minecraft and his son's friends playing Minecraft. And he was tying it to the world in which we live. And so I tweeted it and tagged him just again to get his attention, just to make sure he showed up to this 5 o'clock call.
Right. And to know that you're researching him.
Exactly. So we have the 45-minute call. We talk a lot about some really cool stuff about Schindler, the elevator company that is going through their own digital transformation. That once he mentioned that, I, of course, went and researched that so I would understand. And then the next day, I'm at the airport flying out, and there's an escalator, and it's out, and there are 2 technicians working on the escalator. And, I immediately thought, okay, did the escalator, did it break? Or is this a maintenance that they're doing on it? And is it, so I immediately thought of GE. And so I actually texted Jim the picture of the escalator, and he, replied back, looks like they need Predix, which is the GE, platform.
Right.
So that's just the story of, when I'm how I use my time, I'm constantly thinking about how I more deeply connect with the people I want to do business with. And to deeply connect with someone, you have to be of value to them. You have to know them. You have to understand them. You have to help them. And so, I use all sorts of different channels because call, email, the buyer's doing ignore, delete. I'm less reliant on call, email. I'm trying to get their attention where their attention is. And the attention right now is in digital and social. And so another thing that I think sales professionals need to invest in 2017 is upping their digital and social skill set. And that requires an investment in training. And you can do it at an individual level, but I work with companies that do it at an organizational level, where there's, a prescriptive curriculum that sales professionals go through. There's assessments and coaching and reinforcement, and there's certification at the end of the program that everyone now is doing social selling in a common, not automated, but a common way. So I think in 2017, if you're not already upping your digital and social game, you need to.
Absolutely. I mean, you've tweeted about this recently. You had a tweet. You said you have to be built to adapt. Survival is not mandatory, and digital transformation is not optional. And that is exactly what you've just been talking about, right? I mean, describing your own scenario with the CIO of GE is, that was a digital conversation. You weren't on the phone till after a bit. You did the research. You found out about him. You made sure he knew and that you were there, that you were paying attention, that you were researching. And these are things that you talked about, is you have to up your game. Is if your company's not providing the training, you gotta do it yourself. You can't wait for your company to say, look, we need you to become, we're going to train you to become proficient in this. You need to elevate your proficiency yourself.
I definitely, and I think what you can do in parallel is you can help make the business case for your company to make that investment on a larger scale. So don't wait for your company to give you these skills and provide you the training. Go forth, my friend. But in parallel, what I would recommend you do is, track your success, right? Because success breeds success. And,
exactly.
Help your peers, right? Get them to start down this path as well. And there's plenty of content, like a couple resources, Sales for Life, Sales FOR Life. They've got great executive level content to help build the business case and convince those senior level leaders that they have to embrace change. Another company has some good content called Trapit, TRAPIT, really good content around social selling. Of course, LinkedIn, of course, they have great content around it. So there's resources out there to convince the folks that empower that this is something that they have to invest in.
And at an individual level, there are podcasts, like this one. We've certainly have a number of guests about social selling, but there are some that are dedicated to it. Yeah, no excuse for not being able to up your game. And for heaven's sakes, for a lot of, you wouldn't believe how many connection requests I get from people that still don't have pictures on their LinkedIn profile. Just saying.
Well, how about no picture and the invite is generic?
Exactly.
It's just
no customization.
I call that social stupid. And I call it being just plain lazy. And I say first impressions matter. Every impression matters.
Exactly.
So literally last night, I'm at a physical networking event shocking. I mean, the queen of social selling talks about the phone and being face to face. Yeah, because social is just another channel. So I'm there and he doesn't have a card. I don't have a card. So I'm like, okay, let's just get the LinkedIn connection thing done now. So I'm standing in front of him. I pull it up, the mobile app. I hit personalized invite and start typing. He's like, why are you, I'm standing right here. Why are you, and I said, because I never send a generic invite.
I never do either.
It is a rule. It's one of those 10 commandments, right? Like, you're standing in front of me. I've said I'm going to send you. You say you're going to accept, but I need it to be personalized, period.
Two very simple steps that are really important. And as you said, creating those first perception in the mind of your prospect. Yeah, if it's just generic, what they think you're doing is just hitting, LinkedIn put up the screen of recommended connections, right? And you're just going through clicking connect.
Right.
On all of
right.
them. Yeah.
And what if he doesn't actually get to
look at it for a couple of days?
Right.
Yeah.
And what if he doesn't really remember who I am or meeting me or whatever, right? So I say if you suck offline, you're going to suck more online. And basically social amplifies both suckiness and non-suckiness.
Those are technical terms we use
Very
in sales. Yes.
Yes.
I agree. I mean, you are who you are. And so if you're lazy offline, you can be lazy online. In fact, you may be lazier, as you said, online because you think it's an easier path.
I think so. And I think what you're doing is you're taking old school mindset of sell, pitch, promote, and you're putting that in new school channel, which social is actually the anti-sell.
Right.
It's not about selling. That's why social selling is not a good term, because this isn't about selling via the social web. It isn't like, I send a tweet and someone places an order. So it's really about, social is a channel for engagement. It's for learning. It's for teaching. It's for collaborating. It's for sharing. It's for networking. It isn't a channel to pitch and to pounce and to, I always say, to be interesting, you must be interested. And so for me to be interesting to Jim Fowler, the CIO of GE, I need to be interested in Jim Fowler.
Right. And you have to demonstrate it, right?
Exactly. And you have to earn trust online typically before the sales conversation can begin offline.
Which is true in person as well, right? So, I mean, the rules are very similar to your point about if you, to use your term, if you suck in one dimension, you're going to suck in the other. So let's explore a little bit further. We talk about social is there's this whole, because I think this is really important for sales professionals, especially if you're selling anything sort of a complex enterprise sale, is they just tend to position social as just, top of funnel, make that initial connection and so on. But as we were talking about before, it can actually be used throughout the sales process at every stage.
And beyond. It can be used with your existing customers, right? So I love celebrating customer success. Mm-hmm. I would rather tweet an announcement about a customer doing something great than tweet an announcement about our company winning another award.
Exactly.
And so when you think about who your existing customers are and what they're doing, how can you use social to shine the spotlight on them, to amplify their message, to connect in a human way, right? So maybe you have a customer who is on Twitter and she just ran a marathon and she tweeted about it. Way to go, Susie. Mm-hmm. Right? Your perseverance and fortitude is inspirational.
Right.
Not tweeting another, I always say nobody tweets your data sheet. So
and a nice little couplet, it rhymes, almost Shakespearean.
I try to talk in tweets.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
But the rhyming, I like that part.
Nobody tweets your data sheet.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff, right? You can find out about someone, what's going on with them, and that helps, again, just deepen that relationship. So social is it's another channel. It's a way to learn. So I don't think you should just connect with buyers. I try to not use the word prospect very often. But in sales, it's really, prospects and customers. No one wants to be a target in your database. No one wants to be hunted. No one wants to be farmed. Andy, we have this whole language in sales that's just, it's so like caveman.
But it's not going away. I mean, look in for those who are in the SaaS business, and you look at a job description, for an open posting. I mean, it's all about closers.
I know. And you know what I think? I know I can see this opening oftentimes now. It's harder to get in. Once you're in and you prove a little value and you show them something compelling that is of interest and can solve their problem, I think getting in, though, because we are so overwhelmed and inundated, I actually think getting in is harder. And when you look at what we're doing,
getting into an account for the first time to make that connection.
Yep. I think it's harder now. And what we've done is we've taken the sales organization. We say we've got our field sales, we have our inside sales, we have our sales development reps, and maybe even business development BDRs. Mm-hmm. So BDR, SDR, inside field, named account, nationals. And you've got your literally just graduated from college kids who know nothing about business. They know nothing about sales. They know nothing about the customer. And you have them trying to get in.
Yeah. I know. For those SDRs that listen to this program, what's the word of advice for them?
They need to know thy customer. That's their best. That is their best likelihood. That investment in knowing the problems that you solve for customers like the one you're calling, knowing how to connect a dot to really get that person's attention. And it's hard because you don't have a network. You don't have any real probably business acumen. You don't know a lot. And so you got to get on a learning path, right? Every single day.
Every day, right.
And every day.
And I think one of the things that, to that point, is, and you really open a good thought there, is that for SDRs, BDRs, too often it's like, hey, you're just selling a demo, right? Or you're just selling a conversation. Mm-hmm. But if you think that's the end goal, then you really never have that incentive to learn more. And so you really have to think about yourself. I think the SDRs, and I encourage them, is that you're part of the problem-solving team. You have to have the end goal in mind just as much as the account exec does. And so you have to educate yourself, because if you're just trying to do that demo in that conversation, and you only have that superficial level of knowledge about their problems, their objectives, their desires, their aspirations, then it's going to come across instantly to the person you're talking to.
I think so. And I think the challenge is with, sales leaders, they've structured the sales organization in the BDR, SDR, inside field, named national. They put the least expensive resource
mm-hmm.
or talent, if you will. I hate to call them resource. And all they want them to do is, here's your list. Even one of the companies I admire the most, their inbound team, they make 10 touches, and they do 10 emails and 10 calls.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get no response, they mark it dead. And it's 10 emails and 10 calls.
Right.
It's not 10 minutes of research, connect with them on LinkedIn, see if they're on Twitter, follow them on Twitter, see what they're tweeting about, see who they follow. It's literally 10 touches, generic, that basically you're just going to churn through those people because they're not going to make the number using outdated approaches.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, your churn is expensive. When you have turnover in your sales organization, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I really think it's a leadership issue, Andy.
Oh, it is. It is. But I'm also encouraged from time to time, because I have SDRs that reach out to me that I see what they're doing and they're taking some initiative on their own to say, look, granted, I've got my numbers I've got to make, but I'm going to do it in a way that I think is more effective. And you've got some. I'm starting to see some glimmer of light in some of these places where the SDRs are saying, look, because I want to make this a career, right? I don't want to be just an SDR and burn out and go do something else. I want to move up the ladder. And it's not just going to be about making numbers. It's going to be about doing well.
You are exactly right.
Yeah.
And they stand out, don't they, Andy?
They stand out.
Those SDRs, they make an impact. They stand out. And
their managers may be frustrated with them because you're not doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But hey, tough, right? This is your career. Take charge of your career. And if you do well, you're going to be rewarded, even if it's not exactly according to the just prescribed structure.
I don't think I've ever followed the prescribed structure.
No,
I teach my kids, rules are made to be broken, changed, or bent. I don't want my kids doing what's been done. I want them to do what's possible, what's right, what's modern, and what's going to make an impact.
Exactly.
And a lot of how we operate in the education system, in the industrial manufacturing world, in the even software as a service world.
It's conformity.
It's conformity, and it's based on a different buyer, a pre-digitally, socially, mobile empowered buyer.
Which is ironic, isn't it?
It means I have a very rich future ahead of me because I spent a decade transforming marketing to become more modern, data-driven, process, metrics, content, customer-centered, centric, obsessed, video, all sorts of modernization in marketing. And I'm just taking all of that learning and applying that to sales.
And I think if we were to summarize what we'd sort of talked about in terms of great advice for sales professionals listening to this, it's, yes, be less conforming, right? Take some risks. Do what's right for the customer. And always make it about the customer. If you do that, you're going to be a step ahead of the game for sure.
I encourage them to go out and buy a pair of glasses and have this pair of glasses on their desk. And whenever they have a question about what they're supposed to be doing or why they're doing something or how they're doing it, pick up that pair of glasses, and those are your customer's glasses. So when you put those glasses on, you're looking at it through the eyes of your customer. And those glasses will sit there and they will represent your customer. And the decisions that you make, if you look at it through the eyes of your customer, you are going to be way more successful in your career.
I love that. That is incredible. Okay, we're going to finish this segment of the show with that. That was a great example. Get a pair of reading glasses, put it on your desk. Oh, I love it. Perfect. Look through the customer's eyes. All right, Jill, we're going to move into the last segment of the show. I've got some standard questions I ask all my guests. And in the first one, a hypothetical scenario in which you, Jill, have just been hired to be VP of sales at a company whose sales have stalled out. Time to hit the reset button. CEO is anxious for things to take place. So what 2 steps would you take your first week on the job that could have the biggest impact?
To be effective as a VP of sales, I need to understand the company strategy. And I need to understand how the company strategy was built. Was it built based on us understanding what companies want and building something that we can solve what they want? So I need to take inventory, right? I need to know, what is our company strategy? What is our product strategy? What is our marketing strategy? What is our talent strategy? I need all of those components to build my sales strategy. And before I go out and start doing lots of things and sending lots of emails and making lots of calls, I need to create a strategy. What is a sales strategy?
Okay.
And going into that, I need to know deeply where are we good, right? Like, who are our happiest customers, and what are the problems that we solve for those customers, and really understanding how we're generating value, who it is we're generating value for, and so forth. So it's coming up with a strategy and really getting a very good grasp on who our best customers are and understanding where we've lost accounts, why, right? Who are the bad fit customers for us?
Right.
So that's how I would look at it.
Okay. Great answer. All right. So now I've got some rapid fire questions. You can give me one-word answers or elaborate if you wish. The first one is, when you, Jill Rowley, are out selling your services, what's your most powerful sales attribute?
Passion.
Who's your sales role model?
There are too many. Mark Benioff.
What's one book every salesperson should read? Sales or non-sales? Any type of book.
In 2017, they should read Social Selling Mastery by Jamie Shanks.
Okay. Oh, good book. I like that one. All right. Last question. This is a tough one. What music's on your playlist these days?
I don't listen to music.
Okay.
I listen to podcasts. I'm a nerd.
So what's your favorite podcast?
It depends on who I'm working with at a customer level. And I listen to things that would be informative to them. So it might even, because I have a portfolio of tech companies that I invest in and advise. So it could be SaaStr, about SaaS startups.
Right.
It could be The Art of Charm, which is more about time management and entrepreneurism. It could be Social Selling with Game Changers by SAP. It's all. I don't have a favorite. It's in the moment. What is most relevant to what I need to know today?
Excellent. That's a great answer. Just like reading a book.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, Jill, it's been fantastic talking to you. And how can people get hold of you?
It's not hard. I basically live my life out loud on the web. So Twitter @Jill_Rowley and LinkedIn. But if you're going to invite me to connect on LinkedIn,
don't make it generic.
Don't do social stupid.
Yeah, that's right. Good. Well, again, thank you very much for being on the show. And friends, thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us today. Remember, make it part of your day every day to deliberately learn something new to help you accelerate your success. And one easy way to do that is take a minute, subscribe to this podcast, Accelerate. That way you won't miss any of my conversations with top business experts like my guest today, Jill Rowley, who shared her expertise about how to accelerate the growth of your business. So thanks for joining me. Until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you like what you heard and want to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episodes, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.com. For more information about today's guest, visit my website at andypaul.com.